Hey, what's good? It's Mr. Peace. This question comes from Joe. Obviously, always changing people's names to maintain confidentiality and just respect their identity so they can reach out anonymously, um, at least when I'm sharing their stories through YouTube. So, this guy reached out to me and said, "Hey, Mr. Peace, it's Joe, and this is with respect to kind of a parent issue that he's having." He said my girlfriend goes to church with me. She's being told that she might have to move out of state. How should she or I talk to her dad to convince him that it's not a good idea? Any advice would be great. Thanks, Joe. So I responded back. I said, look, in terms of your girlfriend moving out of state, that I kind of would have to know some more details. Whether or not it's the job that's taking them, or they were from there originally and just moving back home. If it's, in spite of the relationship that's going on, care for someone that's sick. I mean, all these different possibilities, right? And I'm assuming what I told him too is that she's under 18, which it turns out she was. So she doesn't really have a choice yet to decide, where she's going to live. I said, whatever happens though, it does not mean that you cannot still have a relationship. So that's the part that I really wanted to focus on with this video, is the fact that, I've done long distance myself before, and even now, being married and being on the road sometimes when my wife can't go with me, whether I'm going, out to Cali or out east or down south, wherever it is, that I'm still doing like the long distance things to a degree for a couple days a week sometimes, and it's not easy, but it's also what we've at least seen, what I've seen in my previous relationships when it was that way. It can be rewarding, and it can really actually add to the relationship. Like when I'm gone for a week on a summer mission trip. I don't want to be gone every week, obviously, or every weekend, but the times that I am, we understand that that's part of the job, and part of what I've been called to do, and got to provide it as well. But by the same token, it kind of refreshes the relationship, because it's like absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? And to a certain extent, it does. You don't want to be gone for like 3 months without seeing each other, because that really sucks. But for the couple days that you're apart, and still talking, and still, like not having that physical connection, you're still having other connections, and it makes you work on other connections, right? Just other communication skills too. And then eventually, once you do see each other, it's that much sweeter. So what I also said is, it's not easy, but it can be worth it, and will give you a good reason to, possibly go and visit her if the terms are there, which it turns out they were. And he has gone to visit her a couple times, so it has been working out. But what I also said at the time, this is what I know now, when I found out more about the storyline. But I told him, it's still up, to the parent. In this case, it was the dad, and he had to make this decision. And it turns out that it was work related, and they really were they were forced to go because of that. But at the time, what I had told him, that it still wouldn't hurt to talk to the dad, tell him how much that you do love his daughter, and where things are at, and maybe talk with him together with her if she's willing to do that. And I'm sure she would be, because they really care about each other, and they care about the father. So it's just an appropriate thing to do. But what I also said too is, make sure you pray before you talk, and pray for God to speak the right caring words through both of your tongues and lips, straight from the heart. And share with him your feelings, not only about the move, and if there's any way that they could avoid it, because you not only have this relationship and that friendship, but a lot of other ones that she's built over the last couple of years. And they had to talk. He definitely took a lot to what he had to heart, and but he also explained to them, hey, look, this is for work, this is for my job, I got to do this. And so they also finally understood that. they're still maintaining the long distance. It's been close to a year now, and still going okay. They might move back, once if he gets another job availability up here, because he knows how important all of her friends were. But she's also made some new friends in that part of life. So it's one of these things, and I don't want to discount any middle school or high school relationship, because those are really big and important. And you can still have that type of deep connection and love with somebody even at a young age. But by the same token, if it's meant to be, then it will be. And if it's that much of a love and that strong of a love, you're going to get past a couple years of not seeing each other as much, doing more of like the FaceTime. And it's awesome with the technology today and the Skype and everything else, that we can do more of the FaceTime video stuff, and not just talking on the phone and hearing a voice, but seeing somebody in interaction. Yes, it's not the same thing as physical or holding somebody, right? But it still can help out a little bit more than just hearing the voice. It's a tough situation. I mean, it happens, and it's not always the prettiest, reason that someone leaves. Sometimes it is like the jealousy. Sometimes it's in spite of somebody. Sometimes it's because they gotta care for someone that's sick, or that, like, you did get a new job somewhere. Parents got a divorce, whatever the issue is. And for whatever reason, though, if you truly want to maintain that friendship, and whether it's, like more of an intimate thing, like a boyfriend girlfriend, right, versus just like a regular, guy and guy friend, or girl and girlfriend, or whatever type of friendship it is, then you can still maintain that if you choose to do that. Even if a family member moving, like a brother has to move, or a sister has to move, or one side of the family moves. I mean, it's how much work that you're willing to put into it. And so, I pray in my heart of hearts that you'll be willing to, if it really means that much to you and the relationship is there, that you're going to be, putting time aside to, make the phone calls, to send the text messages, to stay in touch, and to, have that ongoing friendship with whoever it is, right? So I hope that answers part of your question. I know sometimes I get off on tangents because there's so many different routes that these things can take, but that's just shedding a little bit of light on what happened with Joe and his situation, and I hope that something that I shared through this video is going to help you through your issue as well. Peace.